tired. I'm really, really tired, and I'm really trying my best to hold on.
I know this weight loss.
Few reality television shows have managed to hold audiences in their grip season after season the way 1002 LB Sisters has. And now, just as the series seemed to be moving toward a story of redemption and recovery, a shocking scandal has erupted that threatens not only the integrity of the show, but possibly its very existence. As Chris Combs, the older brother of Tammy and Amy Slaton, finds himself in a furious and deeply personal battle against TLC itself, a battle that many fans believe could permanently end Season 8 before it even begins, and perhaps topple the entire franchise. The drama, always the lifeblood of reality TV, has never felt more raw, more unfiltered, or more destructive, and even longtime viewers who thought they had seen every possible twist in the sisters. Turbulent lives are stunned by the revelation that Chris has resigned from his contract and filed a formal grievance against the network over what he claims is a blatant breach of payment promises, igniting a wildfire of outrage across social media and spurring a broader debate about whether TLC has been exploiting its stars for years while pocketing massive profits from their pain, humiliation, and family chaos. What makes this controversy hit so hard for fans is that Chris Combs was never meant to be the breakout star of the series when it first premiered. At the start, the spotlight shone squarely on Tammy and Amy's weight loss journeys, their constant battles with food addiction, their hopes for bariatric surgery, and their efforts to prove to doctors that they could stick to lifestyle changes long enough to earn the green light for procedures that might literally save their lives. And yet, as the show grew and audiences became more invested, Chris's presence evolved from comic relief side character into the glue that held the family narrative together. A relatable, honest, and endearingly blunt older brother whose determination to lose weight alongside his sisters, his willingness to confront doctors and siblings alike, and his razor-sharp one-liners gave fans something steady to root for in a storm of chaos. He became, for many, the beating heart of 1000 LB Sisters. Season after season, Chris was there to calm Tammy down when she lashed out at medical staff, to reassure Amy when she doubted her ability to parent her children after surgery, to joke with producers in moments that threatened to collapse into shouting matches, and to carry the emotional weight of the show when the drama teetered on becoming unbearable. Without him, many viewers argue, the show could never have struck the balance between humor, heartbreak, and hope that has made it such a success. And yet, behind the humor, behind the carefully edited storylines, tensions had been simmering. Between Chris and the network, tensions rooted in money, respect, and a sense of betrayal that finally boiled over when, according to multiple reports, TLC failed to deliver on a promised $50,000 payment for his role in the show, a figure modest by reality television standards, yet life-changing for Chris, who, unlike some reality stars, does not live a glamorous lifestyle but instead represents the working-class struggles that endeared him to fans in the first place. For years, whispers circulated online about TLC's unfair contracts and questionable treatment of talent. But Chris's complaint has brought those whispers into the spotlight in a way that cannot be ignored. His grievance, his decision to quit Season 8, and his willingness to go public have triggered a storm of speculation and fury across Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook, where hashtags demanding justice for Chris trend daily. Fans accuse TLC of exploiting the Slaton family for profit while refusing to pay them their due, and viral posts insist that without Chris, the show will collapse under the weight of its own hypocrisy. It is no secret that 1000 LB Sisters has been one of TLC's most reliable ratings juggernauts, consistently drawing millions of viewers, dominating streaming charts, and generating huge advertising revenue. Yet fans are asking why, if the network is making so much money, Chris Combs must wage a desperate battle for a relatively small payout. A question that cuts to the very core of TLC's reputation and business model. In fact, critics point out that this isn't the first time TLC has been accused of exploitation. The Duggar family of 19 kids and counting later admitted they were massively underpaid despite the show becoming a cultural phenomenon. Cast members of Joshu Day Fiance have repeatedly complained about earning as little as $1,000 to $1,500 per episode despite being international stars. And in shows like Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, the controversy surrounding compensation, neglect of mental health, and unfair contracts have long cast shadows over TLC's glossy narratives. Against this backdrop, Chris's $50,000 dispute feels less like an isolated disagreement and more like a flashpoint. A symbol of years of resentment and mistreatment finally boiling over, and fans believe TLC may have seriously underestimated the public's loyalty to Chris, mistaking him for just another expendable cast member, when in fact he has become a central figure whose absence could render the next season hollow, incomplete, and perhaps even unwatchable. Already, Season 8 appears to be in jeopardy, as production plans that were supposed to follow Chris's continued health journey, Amy's transition into life as a single mother, and Tammy's fragile recovery after her near-death hospitalization have been thrown into chaos by his refusal to participate. Producers are scrambling to rewrite storylines, fans are vowing to boycott if Chris is excluded, and insiders warn that the loss of his humor, guidance, and grounded presence may turn what was supposed to be the show's redemption arc into a train wreck. Worse still for TLC. The possibility of legal action looms large. Insiders claim Chris is ready to sue if the network refuses to settle. A lawsuit that could expose not only the details of his contract, but also TLC's broader practices, potentially revealing how much the Slatons have truly been paid over the years, what kind of clauses bind them to the network, and whether TLC's business model is built on systemic underpayment and manipulation of vulnerable families. For a network whose carefully curated image depends on fans believing in the authenticity of its stories, the risk of these details becoming public is devastating, threatening not only financial penalties, but also long-term reputational collapse. As viewers increasingly question whether they have been supporting inspiring journeys or feeding an exploitative machine, the betrayal stings even more deeply because fans have watched Chris bear his soul, his health struggles, and his private family life for the cameras. Laughing at his jokes, crying at his setbacks, cheering his victories, never realizing that behind the scenes he was locked in a battle not with obesity but with the very network profiting from his suffering. This twist, coming at a time when Season 8 was supposed to showcase triumph and stability, feels like a cruel reversal. Instead of celebrating Tammy's remarkable turnaround after her brush with death, Amy's growth into independence, and Chris's ongoing success, audiences are left grappling with scandal, uncertainty, and the sinking fear that the entire narrative was never about redemption but about exploitation. TLC's silence in the face of Chris's allegations only fuels the anger. With no official statement released, no explanation given, and speculation running wild, some believe the network will try to quietly settle with Chris to avoid a courtroom battle. Others predict they will gamble on pushing forward without him and hope audiences adjust. While the most pessimistic fear that the backlash will force the cancellation of 1,000 Delby sisters altogether, leaving fans with nothing but a bitter legacy of betrayal. The stakes are enormous. Chris's fight for $50,000 has become symbolic of a larger struggle for dignity, justice, and respect. A demand that reality stars be treated not as disposable commodities, but as human beings whose pain, laughter, and growth deserve fair compensation. Whether his defiance marks the beginning of a shift in how networks handle reality talent, or the spark that burns the show to ashes, remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the controversy has already snowballed into one of the most explosive chapters in TLC's history, casting doubt on the future of 1,000 LB sisters and shining an unforgiving light on the darker side of reality television. Fans are watching closely, not just as passive viewers, but as vocal advocates for Chris. Flooding timelines with support, dissecting contract rumors on Reddit, and declaring that without him, the show they once loved is dead. And in this charged atmosphere where betrayal, loyalty, greed, and resilience collide, it feels as though the story of the Slaton family is no longer just about weight loss or sibling drama, but about a far greater battle. One that pits a beloved brother against a billion-dollar network and leaves the future of an entire
and her size that she has not met.
Oh, it's appreciated.
the controversy surrounding TLC's hit show 1000 LB. Sisters has become one of the most explosive scandals in the history of reality television. A storm that began as whispers about behind-the-scenes tensions, but has now grown into a crisis so large it threatens not just the future of the series, but the very credibility of the network that built its empire on families like the Slatons. Because what started as rumors of disagreements has now evolved into an all-out war over money, dignity, and exploitation, with Chris Combs, the beloved brother of Tammy and Amy Slaton, at the very center, a man once seen by millions as the heart and grounding force of the show, now battling TLC over unpaid wages, unfair treatment, and the larger machine of corporate greed that has defined the darker side of reality TV for years. A fight that resonates far beyond one paycheck and has instead become a symbol of how networks profit off human pain while the stars themselves are left vulnerable and underpaid. And this is precisely why fans who once tuned in simply for drama and laughs now feel invested in something much bigger. Because Chris has always represented the ordinary man struggling with extraordinary challenges, and his decision to step forward has transformed what might have been brushed off as a contract dispute into a cultural reckoning. For years, fans grew attached to the chaotic, heartbreaking, and often inspiring journey of the Slatons. Whether it was Tammy's repeated brushes with death, Amy's struggles to juggle health with motherhood, or the family's constant cycle of setbacks and small victories, but amid that chaos, Chris emerged as the stable, relatable figure whose humor, warmth, and honesty offered a break from the endless fighting and medical scares. So to see him now positioned against TLC has rattled fans in ways even the most dramatic episodes never did, because the betrayal feels personal. When Chris revealed that his season 8 departure stemmed from unpaid wages, with reports suggesting a $50,000 dispute, outrage spread instantly, not only because of the number itself, but because of what it symbolized. The notion that someone who had given years of his life to expose his struggles on camera, who became the anchor of the family for viewers, was allegedly mistreated and undervalued by the very company profiting from his vulnerability. And this connected immediately to long-standing suspicions about TLC's practices, because the network has faced similar accusations before. Viewers recall how former stars of Toddlers and Tiaras, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and especially the massive Duggar family from 19 Kids and Counting later admitted that they were drastically underpaid compared to the millions their shows generated. Or how cast members of 90 Day Fiancé claimed they were given as little as $1,000 per episode, while TLC cashed in on spin-offs, streaming rights, and global popularity. And suddenly Chris's claims stopped being just about one man's paycheck, and instead felt like the breaking point in years of pent-up resentment against a network built on exploiting people's hardships for entertainment. But what sets this case apart is Chris himself. Because unlike past stars dismissed as eccentric or disposable, Chris has always been a fan favorite, considered the most relatable and trustworthy member of the Slaton family, someone who didn't play up drama for the cameras but instead offered sincerity, perseverance, and a voice of reason. And when a man like that accuses TLC of mistreatment, fans listen, believe, and mobilize. Social media platforms exploded as TikTok creators dissected every rumor and theory. Reddit threads analyzed contracts and network practices. Facebook fan groups organized petitions, and Twitter hashtags like #JusticeForChris and #PE_ChrisCombs trended worldwide, creating a grassroots movement that grew far beyond TLC's control. Because the outrage wasn't just about entertainment anymore, it was about fairness, respect, and the betrayal of trust. Petitions gained tens of thousands of signatures, advertisers were tagged in boycotts, and fan groups openly declared they would refuse to support Season 8 unless Chris was treated fairly, which left TLC executives scrambling behind the scenes, panicked that the return season they had banked on featuring Tammy's miraculous recovery. Amy's journey as a single mother and Chris's continued progress was collapsing into chaos before it even aired. Producers reportedly rushed to rewrite episodes without Chris, but insiders admitted morale was sinking, because even they knew how central he had become to the balance of the show. And the possibility of pushing forward without him felt like a disaster waiting to happen, with critics openly questioning whether 151V sisters could survive at all if the very figure who represented stability and authenticity was gone. The situation grew even more dangerous for TLC with the looming possibility of legal action. Because while Chris's initial grievance focused on unpaid wages, speculation quickly grew that a lawsuit could follow, one that would not only force the network into the embarrassing spotlight of a courtroom, but potentially expose financial records and contract details they desperately want hidden, including how much Tammy and Amy truly earn, how profits are distributed, and whether systemic underpayment has been a strategy for years. Legal experts online debated whether Chris could also claim emotional distress or even exploitation. Given the extreme vulnerability reality stars are forced to show, and if he won such a case, it could inspire a wave of similar lawsuits from other TLC stars, creating a domino effect capable of shaking the entire reality TV industry. For fans, this legal dimension only fueled the fire, because they realized this wasn't just about Chris anymore. It was about all the families they had watched and supported, from the Slatons to the Duggars to the chaotic couples of 90 Day Fiancé. And suddenly the entire foundation of TLC's programming looked rotten. The anger felt more intense than ever because Chris wasn't just another reality star. He was a man viewers identified with, rooted for, and trusted. And to hear he had been wronged made them feel they themselves had been wronged, a personal wound that turned into activism. Social media campaigns continued to grow, petitions gained traction, and fans called on advertisers to pull support, leaving TLC boxed into a corner where none of its options looked good. Pay Chris quietly and admit fault, discredit him and risk greater backlash, or attempt to move on without him and face catastrophic ratings. Meanwhile, the Slaton family found themselves caught in the middle of an impossible choice. Because Tammy and Amy rely on the show's income, but no siding with TLC risks alienating fans who support Chris, while siding with Chris could jeopardize their own futures with the network, leaving them trapped in a no-win situation. For viewers, the betrayal already soured the once-beloved series, raising painful questions about how authentic the storylines ever were. How much was manipulated for drama, and how often the cast's pain was exploited without proper compensation. And the entire show now feels less like a quirky family saga and more like a cautionary tale of exploitation. Chris, meanwhile, has become an unexpected hero, standing up not just for himself, but for every reality star who has ever been underpaid or mistreated. And even if he ultimately loses his case, the fact that he challenged TLC at all has permanently changed the way fans see the industry, because the curtain has been pulled back, the machine exposed, and audiences will never look at reality TV the same way again. Rumors swirl that Season 8 may already be canceled in private, with producers fearing the backlash is insurmountable, while other whispers suggest spin-offs focusing on Tammy or Amy, though fans quickly dismiss those as distractions from the real issue: accountability. Conspiracy theories spread, with some claiming TLC intentionally froze Chris out to redirect focus to Tammy's weight loss. Others suggesting the network is slashing costs and discarding stars, and still others predicting this scandal is only the beginning, with more cast members soon to come forward about similar mistreatment. Regardless of which theory proves true, the stakes are devastatingly high. Amy, adjusting to life as a single mother, risks losing stability. Tammy, finally healthier, could see her comeback collapse. Chris must choose whether to fight an exhausting court battle or accept silence. And fans once loyal and devoted now feel betrayed in ways that cannot easily be undone. The 1000 Dalby Sisters saga, once marketed as a story of perseverance and family, it's become a